What brought you back to Sonor after all these years?
Well, it's a long story, and I'm happy to tell it. I mean, basically, in November of 2023, I bought back my designer series drum set I used on the very first Styx tour I did, and it was on the Return to Paradise live record and DVD. And I bought it back from Mike Gallus, who I sold it to when I left Sonor in '99. And Mike went on to open Mike's Drum Shop in Villa Park, Illinois. And he uh, kindly took care of these drums lovingly and restored them. And I bought them back and I set them up right over here when I received them. And I couldn't ignore the way they made me feel when I played them. And I sort of didn't want to stop playing them. And then, as fate would have it, the following month, I did two master classes in Atlanta, and Mike Eckert at the newly formed Atlanta Drum Shop had helped out with the events and went to his shop, and I ended up going home with two signature snares, one a 14 by 8 Babinga parallel strainer that I've wanted for 42 years and finally got, 6.5 ebony signature, both heavy beach, and what I can only imagine is a one of a kind 20 by 19 signature heavy Babinga floor tom, a 20 floor tom. And I hadn't set up my signature kit, even with the square sizes. I hadn't set that up since I lived in Chicago in the 90s at some point. And I set them up right over here. I moved the designers in the Sonor corner over there and set up the signatures. And again, I couldn't ignore how they made me feel. And my engineer, J.R. Taylor, who's been my guy since 2007, walked in the door over there and he goes, "Oh, I've never seen you set these up before." And I said, "Yeah, I don't think I've ever set them up since the 90s." And he put his head right here. I said, "Listen to these toms." And I went down 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 20. And I looked at him and his face looked like he just witnessed a murder. And I couldn't ignore the way those made me feel, and I was haunted, and just the allure to that sound and the heavy beach shells and the energy that comes off Sonor toms is different than any other because of the undersized shell. So think of a timpani, right? The way the head floats over the bearing edge. Boom. There's a trampoline bounce coming off the head, the impact, the strike. And you get a tone that is undeniable. It's just like rich reds and blues colors coming out, and you could feel it in your hands. Um, and again, as each passing day went on in the coming weeks, I couldn't ignore the way those made me feel, and I felt this um, gale force wind start to seemingly appear behind my back that was pushing me in that direction.
Awesome. So, you're even though you have been with Pearl for about a quarter of a century, you've never lost your affinity for sonar, including touring with phonic or signature hi-hat stand for all these years. Was it on your were you ever intentional of getting back at some point? Did you figure the time would come that it would work for your career again? Or is this just something that just happened to come out of the blue or what?
Well, I mean, I spent almost 25 happy years with Pearl, playing their Masterworks line, their great drums. Uh, I made great friends in Japan and Europe and in America at the company, and they took great care of me. And but so during those times, it was never my intention to return. I didn't view Pearl as a temporary stopover. It was home for a long time. But as years go by and decades go by, things change. Feelings change. Things occur, and it just was the right time. it's the right time to do it. I mean, obviously Jerry Goldenson, who's the president of KHS, was a dear friend who worked at Pearl. So that was the opportunity to uh, reconnect and work with someone who was so very special to me at Pearl Drums, who's now basically the president of Sonor USA. That was definitely a contributing factor
Hmm.
to the ease of being able to make this decision in making that move. And Jerry is not only a salt of the earth, wonderful human being with a heart this big, but he's highly intelligent and very, very smart and knows how things should be. Um, and that's the type of guy I want in my inner circle, someone who's just that wonderful of a human being. Um, and also shares the passion for the brand as well, obviously. So it at this time as I'm as I'm looking at the back nine, you know, I just want to play the drums that I want to play, and I can't I can't ignore the way they make me feel. I've I've been in love with the drums since I was about 9 years old, and it's the way that if you grew up in the north side of Chicago, it might be the way you feel about the Cubs or the Bears or wherever you grew up. That was your hometown team. That's kind of the feeling I've that's never left me.
Gotcha. So you mentioned KHS, and I know, we did an interview some years ago, and the first one actually we did two. The first one we talked about your departure from Sonar, and you said you felt like you couldn't get on their radar, and you mentioned some problems you'd had and all that, and that was under different distributorship, and I met Jerry Goldenson as a dealer back during that time too, and I didn't know what I was sensing at the time, but I feel like there was a frustration with Jerry um, in his position, and and over the years, you realize that Honer, as I've heard somebody else mention, that a lot of old guys ready to retire. And so they didn't have any fire for much of anything. They wound up losing Sabian, which was a big loss. Um, so the contrast between what you felt and saw when you left the prior distributorship compared to what you're feeling from KHS now, that sounds like a world of difference. Would that be accurate?
Well, yeah, I mean, I imagine for Jerry it was probably frustrating being the smartest guy in the room and
Hmm.
maybe not being able to make executive calls in that situation. I'm just riffing here. I don't know what those situations were, but I can speak as an artist at the time that they were to say that they were spectacularly difficult to deal with, and the competence level of just simple basic support. I need a clamp. I need a piece of hardware. The things that would fall by the wayside and that would take months to get a simple boom arm or something like that. It was uh, extraordinarily frustrating to the point that, as brand loyal as I was, and as much as I loved Sonor drums since I was 9 years old, and have carved the mallets in 100 desks at grade school and middle school and high school, I came to the conclusion that I can't have a career and play these drums. I have to go somewhere else because I can't, I can't turn up and have to do a national TV show and the drums aren't there. Well, what am I going to do? What's open at 6 a.m.? How are we going? Where are we going to get drums? They did that to me a couple times, and it just became apparent that can't I can't do this. So the fact that the regime is entirely different, uh, it makes it so much easier to deal with. There's a young, excited uh, team in Germany poised for a future that have the passion and the excitement and the strength and the knowledge and the smarts of KHS. It's a different world entirely. I mean, I'm terribly excited to uh, see the drums set up on our stage. I mean, I've seen them set up in KHS, and I've seen them set up in a recording studio. But
Hmm.
now, give me, they get to be on our stage underneath the lights, and I can't wait to see uh, the crew's reaction, my bandmates' reaction to them. I can't wait to hear how they sound and feel uh, playing the show. So I'm very excited. It's not business as usual at all. It's sort of um, on one hand, it's been nice being at home and being on break, but I also can't wait to get out on the road and experience what I'm about to experience with the drums. So it'll be really exciting, and I'm curious to what the reception is going to be. It's always a kind of a strange thing if someone's been associated with a brand for so long and then they go elsewhere.
Right.
So I mean, I hope that the reception is fine. I'm sure some people may be disappointed. Some people are going to be thrilled. I mean, that's life, right? But I really am excited to uh, play these drums um, and take them on the road. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear them.
So what hi-hat are you taking on the road with you?
Interesting question. So, uh, I've just retired the signatures. The last show of the year, uh, I'm playing, and all of a sudden, I'm stepping on the hi-hat pedal, and nothing's moving at the top. And so, Mark Petricelli, my tech, runs out in between songs. Thankfully, it happened near the end of a song. Pulled it off the rack, put in the spare. And when I'm playing the spare, I go, oh, that's why I got that one. This one feels like it's maybe about to go. But what happened was my main one, where the rod goes into the bottom piece that pulls it, something broke off, like the metal broke off. It's done. I mean, it's now a carcass for spare parts. And the two that I had that were legless signature, they kind of feel like they're 40 some odd years old. They've got a lot of miles on them
Mm.
and thousands of Styx shows on them and countless thousands of shows or whoever owned them before me. So I thought, you know what? Maybe it's time to have a modern modern hi-hat. So is it the 600 or the 6000? I'm still really bad with hardware numbers. So
600.
whatever the Sonor top of the line is, 600, that's what's going to be happening on the road. And I know there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment because I'm used to having the feel of the signature hi-hat for so long. Um, so there will be a little bit of a learning curve, but there's nothing that I won't be able to handle. But there's also part of me that feels excited about moving into the 21st century with my hi-hat choice because I bought them off of eBay and the last one, my friend who's finally George, I had him buy buy one on German eBay and ship it to me. Like, okay, I don't have to do that anymore. So I'm excited to move into the 21st century with my hi-hat choice. So 600s it is. Everyone that I've talked to or have corresponded with over there, it seems like a young, excited uh, team that is has passion for the brand, and they're excited and they're ready to go. And that was um, obvious to me, and that was also told to me by Steve Smith. I mean, I neglected to mention this when I was having these feelings. I called Steve, you know, who has always been a friend and a mentor to me, and I said, how are they? Because quite frankly, if they were the Titanic, I didn't want to jump on the Titanic as just as about to do this. I had no idea.
Hmm.
So I called him not only from his, the fact that he would give me the straight answer, but also the fact that he's an artist that has been through all the regimes since 1977,
Hmm.
and he had nothing but glowing things to say about them. So that was the impetus uh, for me to reach out to Jerry, um, to test the waters, as it were. And actually, how I did that, Julian, was when I had gotten that 20-inch floor tom from Mike Eckert at Atlanta Drum Shop. I knew that that floor tom must have a story. So I reached out to Jerry saying, "Hey, I just got this drum. Here's the serial number. Would you mind checking with Germany to see if there is a story at all, or who this has to be a one of a kind and a one off or a custom drummer. Maybe it was made for so and so." And he came back. So the only information they had was 1984 in Dusseldorf. That's all the information they had. But it was from that initial email that Jerry was like, just saying, next year's the 150th anniversary. Might be time to think about coming home. And all that was hitting me at the same time of falling in love with the drums here. It just was this perfect, gentle storm of a breezy summer, easy summer storm. You know what I mean? It just felt right.
Hmm.
Um, so all these things and all these people um, that have come in and out of my life and or have been peripheral or central. It's all these things that happened. You know, I won't mention names, but there's a couple of people that own big drum shops that were always suggesting, you might want to think about. But I at that time I didn't want to explode my life or make things difficult. Like why everything was fine. Why would I want to? But it happened so organically that
Hmm.
I couldn't ignore any of this. To ignore this would be ignoring uh, giant signs that the universe was putting in front of my face and all around me.
You know what? As a Sonar nut, I'm excited. When you told me that you were back with Sonar, it was a surreal moment for me. Literally, I actually thought you were pulling my leg to start with, and then to find out it was legit was a really, really awesome feeling, honestly.
The people that I've gotten to meet and become friends with because of this and because of music is it's such a privilege, and it's not something that's lost on me. Um, it's a spectacular, charmed life, and life is can be a wonderland if you're open to it.
Hmm.
Um, and for me, that the drums of my youth are now the drums of my future is such a heartwarming, uh, exciting notion to me. Um, that again, to be my age and to have that sort of excitement, like the childhood wonderment, running down to the Christmas tree as a kid type feeling. Uh, it's really spectacular.